everyone dancing all the time?
It's too early to
I
dance.
dance below the waist.
There you go. Okay. So
get that.
that's a visual. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for some. And welcome to episode 40 of Cut the Shit Show, Cue the Genius, where you are the geniuses. We just facilitate the shit and have the conversations with the geniuses. And this episode is about the evolution of the event tech mixologist. Because we love to bring out terms, this is not an acronym game. We're not playing that. But I think there is this whole idea of the event tech, what was it? Event technologists, right, Michelle?
Right. Technologist.
Mhm.
Hello, John from Seattle. So I think John Chen would probably define himself as an event tech mixologist. So aside from the drinks that come to mind and bartending and Tom Cruise in the movie Cocktail, I do honestly think that this is just not yet another cute title. There's something to be said there. So let's back up for a second. Maybe we can actually really just lean hard on Nick since he's listening in, and John, and ask them what their definition of an event technologist is versus what they think an event tech mixologist is. I feel like I'm getting tongue-tied. Or is it
It's
Thursday?
confusing. It's Thursday and it's confusing.
Although my husband convinced me it was Wednesday this morning.
Did it work?
Yes, it did. And I was so happy that I had an extra day anyway. And then I realized because it said on the news. Yeah. No.
Did he do it on purpose or he genuinely thought it was?
No, he genuinely thought it was Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, all right. So let's see. So Nick and John are going to try to define event technologist for us in the comments. But in the meantime, Bruno, I'm going to lean hard on you.
Okay.
What, in your view, is an event technologist?
Okay.
Event technologist.
An event technologist is someone on the event planning team whose job it is to sort of seek out the technology that fits for, the events versus what a CTO does, which is being concerned about technology for the whole organization. It's not event focused. And they hold office hours where they're constantly looking at new technology. They oversee all of the technology partners. They do the contracting and the hiring and firing of technology partners. They are responsible for disseminating information about technology to the team and other departments. And finally, they dig into the data and look at the outcomes and the impact of the technology on the success of the event. That's what I say it is.
Michael Shapiro says that they technologize.
Exactly.
So we're going to trademark that
say.
like right away.
Yeah, get right on that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just, it's a person that has to be tech savvy. And Liz, as you rightly said before we went on air, a lot of event planners choose not to be. And so someone has got to be in charge of that knowledge. But they also need to know how to manage an event, what the logistics are about, which is knowledge that CTOs and just purely tech people in event organizations don't necessarily, they understand it, but unless you've been a planner, and understand sort of the day-to-day requirements and, how the sausage is made, I think that, a specific person that knows both, but really knows tech is what that is.
So it can't be a planner that turns into an event technologist?
Yeah, I think it can. But then they have to stop doing planning because that in itself is too time consuming. It's, it requires every inch of every day. This person works alongside them and is, kind of saying, what would make it easier and how we could be more efficient and cost effective, and knows what technology is out there. I mean, originally I was thinking that it was a liaison between the tech partners and the organization, and someone that had knowledge of event planning. That's kind of where the idea started, because it was hard for event technology companies to find the right person in the organization to sell their tech to. So let's just have a person that you can at least talk to, and then they can move whatever mechanics inside the decision-making process of the organization, but they have to know about technology.
So Liz, you know about technology. Like, you are dubbed the event tech queen. So within Liz King Events, are you automagically the event technologist?
Yes. Yeah. I think it is as Nick is saying, it's a discipline. There is some focus required. And I think generally there has to be some interest. I run across a lot of planners who they just don't have any interest in knowing the technology. They feel, I still am talking to planners who feel like printing out pieces of paper with registration lists feels most comfortable to them, regardless of what's available. That's not a heartache for them. So they're not looking for a solution to that problem. Whereas I like to say I'm lazy. Other people say I'm efficient. I want to know like the fastest, easiest way to do something. And I'm very interested in how technology can help us do that. So within at least my team, there are lots of people who know of tools. And, obviously if you work on the Texi Talk team, you're familiar with a lot of tools just because they float through our processes often. And there are definitely people on the team who find cool things, but it typically is like, Liz, check this out. I'm kind of the one who's looking at the overall use of it. And I think another benefit of me playing that role is that I've loved technology since I was young. So I've seen kind of the evolution of the technology itself, not just a role like this, which is so necessary, but just, what we were doing 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. The fact that people are so obsessed with communities now. And we talked on the Discord with Nick about people have been in online communities for years and years, since AOL chat rooms, so we know what that looks like. But there are a lot of people who think this is some newfangled concept. So I think you need someone who loves it, who loves technology, who naturally is drawn to try new things. And yes, absolutely, Michelle, who has that planning experience, who can say, this is great because it solves X problem, and I can see how it would integrate with our process. You can't just have people, who are just like obsessed. Like my husband is saying in the chat right now, he is always looking at technology and he sends me a billion things, and half of them I'm like, that has nothing to do with what I do.
So the key here is the key here is focus, right? So that's one. Borelli says it's a discipline, which I agree. And then I know it says LinkedIn user. So Olivia Otterness also weighed in and said, and is asking the question. But I think for an event technologist to be successful, and this might be, stating the obvious, where it needs to be its own job. It cannot be a tack on to a planner. It cannot be an additional add-on to the event marketing team. It cannot be like, you go and manage an event, but I need you to do all of this other crap here. And it's not crap, because it is a lot of work. And going back to what Olivia was asking, would you say that event technologist develops the strategy of the tech for the events, or is it truly on the sourcing and vetting and communication of key capabilities to the event planners? I would say it's developing the strategy. That is included.
Well, what would an event tech strategy be?
Good question.
I have thought about this over the years. I mean, we want technology that, I don't know. I can't answer that question because I don't know if there is such a thing. Maybe someone can weigh in on that. What would an event tech strategy be? I mean,
Well, I
it
think
has to be something. Yeah, go
you
ahead.
could look at, the problems that your planning team is facing, or the problems that your attendees are facing, your exhibitors are facing, some of the benefits that they want that they're not getting currently. And then I think the way I see it, at least, the strategy piece is what we know. You're not going to go out there and say, we have these 10 problems, so here's the one platform that's going to solve all that. There's 17 different things that have to work together, that have to address what you're trying to achieve, be implemented. They all have to talk to each other. There has to be a strategy around the data, for example. Like, there's a whole data strategy.
Mm.
There's a whole management strategy of who's doing all these different pieces. So there's a lot of different pieces. The way I see it, I guess, is that it's the implementation of deciding what you need, what in terms of area of need, deciding what the options are, and then being able to come up with a comprehensive strategy that solves those needs and doesn't create more problems than what you had in the first place, because that can
Mhm.
definitely happen. Technology is great until it doesn't work, and then you're stuck.
Mhm.
And yeah, Michael's saying,
Yep. Strategy is also where the mixology comes in, right? How do you blend to get the right result? Boom. So we're blending, we're bartending here. Sandy's also correct in regards
yeah,
to with
absolutely.
the strategy. And when talking about event tech, you're not only talking about the strategy or the implementation or the deployment or the insights or the data that you get from it, but it's also the hardware, the equipment, et cetera, that you are utilizing. I also think that the other thing is, with this event technology strategy and the implementation, even though everybody is super hungry for the data piece,
Mhm.
or like the ROI or the ROE, the return on event technology, whatever the heck is, or, the return on the investment, because event technology can cost a shitload of money.
Mhm.
And a lot of associations and a lot of organizations, they don't take the time to reevaluate whether they're optimizing the use of their technology or not, until they're ugly crying. Once a year, they get an invoice from the solution or the provider, and it's $1 million. And they're like, for what? What are we doing? And then it's like, oh, wait, then we need to do something. And that's not part of the strategy. So the strategy cannot be a stop and go. The whole idea is the strategy. Hi, Megan. The whole idea is the strategy needs to be a strategy across a period of time, like a first year, third year, fifth year of usage. What are you trying to do? If we're all in the business of growing, of growth,
Mhm.
then the strategy and the technology has to grow with you.
Mhm.
Where I see epic fails with the technology is when nobody notices new capabilities, or nobody asks the tech companies to get together and say, okay, what can we do collectively to grow your event, to grow your business? Granted, you can have a ton of egos in one room, and they're like, well, we're competitors, we're so and so sitting across the table, we can't tell you our secret sauce. That has to stop, because
Mhm.
the entire event technologist responsibility is truly to be from A to Z. The strategy, the players, how do they work together? Do you remember the times where we would say, oh, well, this tech company, it's okay, but we still have a lot of manual work that we do on the back end. CSV uploads every 2 hot minutes, all of this. Are we still there? Are we still doing
yes,
this?
yes. We have
What?
many clients who do that, who bring us in on the event planning side. We're working with one very notable one right now and multiple others all the time. And I compare it to like the frog in hot water. Like, it sucks and you just slowly get used to doing this. And then 10 years down the road, you're like, other people come in and they say, what the heck are you doing? What is going on over here? Why would you be doing it this way? That doesn't even make any sense. But they can't even see that makes no sense. They don't even realize how much extra time it's taking them to do these extra tasks that make no sense. And that's, you said earlier, like this cannot be a planner. It has to be someone, an individual role. I agree wholeheartedly. There are so few organizations who actually do that though. And then it becomes an afterthought, and it becomes, as Michelle was talking earlier, you're just so busy trying to do life. You found this tool 5 years ago and it seems to kind of be working well enough, and you just keep doing it. And I think people don't realize, like, there are way better options out there that would save you a ton of time. We work with companies who are working with big name tech companies in the industry and out. Their systems don't talk to each other. There's all this overlap. It's incredibly cumbersome.
So this is where I think, Bruno, maybe you can help out here too, where we would say, okay, you want to create an event technologist position. We're going to go into the mixologist in a second. An event technologist position in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to take away from their plate? And what are you going to give them the responsibility and the control of? Just top 3 things.
Wait a minute. Take away from their plate. Who's
if
that?
you are trying to transition someone that's already on the team.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of people tack it on to the planner, or like Sandy was saying, marketers within the organization. That's not cool anymore. So like, what would you take off of their plate if a planner was going, I'm going to be an event technologist tomorrow?
Well, I think one thing is just having insight into what's out there. That can't be on a planner's plate, because planners work in cycles, right? They're gearing up for an event, and when that's done, they go to the next event. So there's no time opportunity for them to go, hey, instead of going to Hawaii to like come down off our big annual, I'm going to just study all the event tech that's out there and see, get ready for my next event. That just doesn't happen. So that has to come off their plate. I think actually physically issuing RFPs for tech and reviewing the RFPs and making purchases can't be on a planner plate, because again, no time, no expertise, no desire. So the way they usually make decisions in the absence of those 3 things is like, who's my friend that's doing another event? What are they using?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So there's not a lot of due diligence, which, then you end up with organizations having tech that's the wrong fit. So I would say that. And I would say being responsible, having the outcomes for technology working properly and being the right fit, take that off the planner's plate. Because if they can't make decisions and they don't have time to do the research and all of that stuff, why should they be responsible for what that technology does within their event and what they are responsible for? That needs to come off their plate. And then 4th is got to be the data, examination after the fact.
Yeah.
There's just, again, no opportunity, no expertise to really dig a lot deeper than the surface stuff into what the data says and what you can do about it, for the next event. I think the technologist can play a huge role in that.
No, spot on. I totally agree. I think Sandy also helped us out here. She gave us 3.
Yeah.
I think people think in 3s. I think in 3s. Do you guys think in 3s?
Always.
Yeah. So Sandy's like making sure software talk to each other, which, Liz, as you said, this organization, nope, does not work. Collect data and be in charge in the analytics, again, for all technologies, innovation to the table. It's a different head. Yeah, it totally is.
Think about integrations. Do you know any planner on this planet that would be able to, do an integration of
not without
software?
stabbing their eyes out and probably crying in the bathroom with a case of wine, not just one.
I mean, that's probably a hyperbole, but it's like, as a former planner, it's just like not my thing. It is now, but it wouldn't have been my thing back then.
Yeah.
No.
So we're going to flip to the mixologist idea.
Yeah.
So this has nothing to do with booze. Well, maybe, but not really. But like the whole idea of an event tech mixologist is that we are talking about a responsibility here where it is not only about event tech anymore. What you're doing is you're looking at technologies and infrastructure that has to do with other aspects of growth within an organization, whether it's from a marketing perspective, whether it's from member or audience attention, acquisition and retention, whether it's content, whether it is just business type of enterprise solutions.
Mhm.
So I think it would be a disservice if you have an event technologist that is yet again just head down, focusing only on event technology and not being able to see how it fits in, how it works, how it solves problems and challenges, and ultimately how it can grow with the other tech solutions that are within that organization.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm sort of shiveting to this whole event tech mixologist position.
It sounds like the strategist we just talked about.
But mixologist sounds sexier than strategist.
No, well, it
Of
works
course,
for
I
me.
mean,
Yeah, that's true, which is exactly why organizations will not adopt it. It sounds too fun.
can't have
And
fun at work.
and imagine putting up an ad for a mixologist, a tech, you
I
know,
would pay money for anybody that
Yeah.
would put that. Like I would pay them money.
well,
to
what
put-
about the candidates that are trying to get that job? What's that
they
gonna
would be all for it because they will just see it as like an
I can
opportunity.
see all the
for-
resumes that look like a recipe for like a craft cocktail, but it's, stuff about technology and events.
I don't know who's agreeing with me on like it sounds way cooler, but I love you, whoever you are. So, hey, MJ, you are spot on. See,
Super.
it has to be catching on. So, like this whole idea has to catch on. We might have to rebrand. Agreed. It sounds cooler. So, but here's my other claim that I'm going to do since why not? It's March. It's Q5 of 2022 for God's sake. It feels like it.
Mhm.
Where, all right, so we talked about an event technologist had to be like someone who's dedicated to this responsibility, to this strategy, to this whole hot freaking mess that sometimes you walk into. And in the past, we're like, okay, it has to be one who's laser focused. I am now actually thinking everybody has to be an event tech mixologist from C-suite to people that are boots on the ground at an event. They have to have that embedded within their DNA. I think the times have changed tremendously where if you say, I do not have an appetite, I do not have a desire, I do not intend to understand or know how technologies work and so forth, then it's going to be an epic fail. You can fight me on this one too.
I've been saying
No.
this for like over 10 years that everyone should push themselves out of the box. I know people have been saying it way before me. It is a mindset you must take. I've even used the phrase evolve or die in many presentations. And, the truth is, it's just not happening. I mean, sometimes that's super frustrating. At the end, I'm like, have I been saying this for a long time? And there are many people saying it way before me. I think the truth is, yes, the organizations have to have digital at the core. It has to be a core value at this point. After the pandemic, I am still in awe how many people are still like back to in person, back to what we do. It's like, did you learn nothing for the last 3 years? And to your point about, just not just having event tech, but also knowing technology in general. I constantly am telling people like, look outside our industry at what people are doing because there's not that much cool stuff happening in our industry. We're super delayed. And if you want to see, marketing organizations and other organizations outside of what they're doing with events, but what they're doing as an overall marketing strategy or what they're doing with their organization as a whole, you will see the success is in digital first. It is in a lot of technology use. And yet in our industry, it's like that message, just like people don't want to hear it. So we're just going to keep doing it like this and saying it in formats and cutting the shit. We got to evolve. We have to evolve or our industry is just the ROI is going to equal 0 to events, and they're just going to do less and less events and move on to other marketing strategies. And we'll all be wondering where our industry went. Sad.
Well, the ROI could be like whatever, 500%, but how would you know?
Well,
You
yeah,
just
I mean,
don't-
that's the whole
you
thing.
don't know how to measure it, or don't use anything like a reel to measure it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So here are the epic challenges that I see if technology and digital is not understood from the top down. And there's this huge burden and this huge responsibility that event technologists are presented with, where they're like, well, it's on you to educate the other rest of the team and the organization about the technologies, and then you become the voice, and then you do this and that. Everybody needs a scapegoat.
Yeah.
And the first person to go is going to be the one who's trying to teach someone who does not have a desire or does not have it in them to understand, why are you talking about these solutions? What are you trying to achieve? And so the challenge here is, if you have a C-level team that can't even open their inbox or can't even operate their mobile devices, and you know exactly the type of people I'm talking about, guess what's going to happen? There will not be any growth in that. There will be a time, and the time is actually now, because if you look at our like Gen Alpha, I don't even know which letter or like name we have anymore. The amount of technology that they're using and digital and where they live, it is in nobody's best interest when you say, I don't need to know about NFTs or Discord or about like content technology or about, anything that has to do with a dashboard and spits, Chat GPT is probably playing really hard on some people's brains right now, because this is where you either tell them to step away, or you're going to have to look for probably new leadership teams.
Well, they're aging out anyway.
And then what?
Well, that's another show. We got to end it here because Liz has to go.
But so the hardcore ask is for organizers or for organizations to actually have someone almost put like an interview type of form together within their company, meaning, are we tech savvy enough to grow this business and to grow the strategy that we're aiming, even only for our events? Who's the right person, whether it's someone internal that can handle it and or someone external? Because Bruno, like you said, you went on LinkedIn and you saw like a bunch of positions available, as well as job descriptions, etc. But I think people really need to ask this question internally. Are we doing a good job or not, and what we need to do different? Or do we hire someone to take this over from a tech, from a digital, and spin it out?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Remember the couple of PCMAs ago when we did a presentation on this, and it happens frequently. Someone will come up from the audience and say, well, my boss won't let me get this app or do this thing or whatever. And I say, honey, start looking for another job, because you're not doing your career any favors if you can't get the resources that you need to be the best planner. So
definitely. So
she
Sandy
could be a mixologist.
Huh?
She could be a mixologist.
Totally. So if everybody loves this idea of the mixologist, and Shapiro says you need to offer the event tech mixologist certification at the next tech bar,
I think he already earned it.
He probably already trademarking it right now.
Yes. He could be the first one. You are the first
Totally.
ETM. Put those letters after your name now.
Exactly.
Your boss will love it.
Exactly. Oh yeah. All right. So, are we good?
We
got
have
the
to
QR
share
code?
a few things before
Yes.
we go.
So the first thing that we're sharing is actually if you can whip out your phone, get your camera out, and slowly hover over the QR code. This QR code is your gateway to the masterclass of the business of events. And Marco Ghiberti and Jamie Minton with Leader Pass, they put together an amazing and stellar lineup of speakers that talk about leveling up the business of events. This is not about tactics or your subject line on your next email. This is all about revenue and all about, like, for example, how you can do better. And the lineup is ridiculous. So make sure that you get in there and grab a seat front row. This is only from Bruno and Liz and myself as an invitation. And then the next thing that we're sharing with you is our upcoming webisodes. You have March 9th, Cut the Shit on Conference Calls and Meetings, and we are going to call out conference calls and meetings that could have definitely been an email. And 16th, AI tools to power event profs. A lot more than just Chat GPT right now. And March 23rd, how to ace Google Sheets. And this is where Liz is going to be in her haven telling us how to ace Google Sheets. If you have any topics, if you want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to us and we would love to have you on the show. And we can't wait to see you next week. Have a great, great weekend.